What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracey, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? Man, that roar gets me every time. Grant, you know me so well, man. I love you, bro. Man, I've been waiting for episode 100 for a long time. This was a big deal for me as soon as I realized that I was going to hit 100, because I tell you what, in the early days of Coffee and Grit, I did not have the anticipation or understanding or thought that I would stick with this for so long. So here we are, episode 100. And when it came clear that this was going to happen around episode 75, it was, we're speeding up pretty close. I knew exactly who I wanted to have on, and I'm so glad that he was receptive and said yes and made it down here. So we've had it on the calendar for a little while now. But they say you are who you surround yourself around, and it's no wonder why I get to live the life and happy life that I get to live, because I grew up with this guy across from me now, and man, I'm just sitting here telling him about how I get to have all these amazing conversations with incredible people that sit across from me, and how much I've learned and grown from all these people. But even thinking about my dream interview of who I'd want to have on this podcast, this guy across from me has been that guy that I've had on that list for a long time. And I wanted it to be something established and something I wanted him to be able to come down to the studio and see this all. So, but I was on this list because, man, I get to be a big brother to this guy across from me, and I've got to listen to his stories. And man, sitting and talking about the stories and somebody that's changed your life. Like Jordan has changed my life. Every time I've ever gotten together, I just love hearing what is going on in his life. Some of my proudest things I talk about, like, you are who you surround yourself around. Man, we made it out of something that I'm so proud of, what we've both been able to accomplish in our life and be able to have extremely happy families. And I'm so proud to see him go on this new journey with Natalie Marie, his new daughter, and see how beautiful she is, and see how much pride and joy he takes in that. And I'm super excited to dive into this conversation, because I know we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff of how we've gotten to where we are now. But man, Jordan, thank you for coming on the studio, and welcome.
Congratulations. Couldn't be more proud of you, and probably gonna need some Kleenex in here already. No, I'm more than honored to be here. Think of me. So,
well, I mean, man, obviously, you've been in my life since 5. I remember the early days when we were the normal younger sibling brothers, when mom had to tell us that we had to ignore each other and act like we didn't exist, and then I was the asshole that, like, oh, he doesn't exist, and I'm like plowing through you and that kind of thing. But like, as we got older, it was just a bond that we had. And like, when I found out I was having Jackson, obviously you were the first person I told, and we've kind of repeated that, and best men at each other's wedding, and just, man, I love having you as a brother. I love being able to have you on and talk about it.
It's been an incredible relationship. I mean, I remember when you moved to Marquette, and I was actually living in Lansing at the time, and I remember calling you and like pacing back and forth in my room for like 2 hours talking about Michigan State basketball at the time. And I mean, it's always been I actually don't remember the times of you being an asshole and ignore each other. So that part's good. But no, it's been an incredible relationship.
Yeah, man, you just made me think of the note you left me when I was going to Marquette. Just the wild, crazy things we did in Myers, and the adventures we'd have. I sit and tell Jackson now about how we'd like be snacking inside this Myers underneath like the patio furniture, and nobody would see us. And
I told Alyssa that, and she said, I don't even understand. Like, when you go to Myers, and you'll see like in the furniture there is like this encasing below that you could set a nice little fort. And then we do that, and it's not there anymore. So there must be a reason for that.
I didn't notice that.
Maybe it's the half, drinking case of lemonade underneath the phone there,
the full package of donuts that were like empty.
But I think about it every time I go to Meijer, and I try to avoid going to Meijer because actually it's just a really large store, a far parking distance. But yeah, I think about it every single time.
Yeah, man. So talking about like, where we came from, obviously growing up in Owasso, we lived in an apartment most of our youth, grew up with a single mom. Tell me kind of I know the journey you've had to go through how did you get here to where you're at now?
Well, that journey started before living in Owasso. That journey started living in even smaller town, Durand, with Randy, who was our father, who we literally one day, with the help of family, ran, escaped that, and even didn't quite escape that once we moved away in an apartment because he found us.
Yeah.
And that's an experience we had to go through together as well, from, calling 911 when mom's working second shift and he's trying to beat the door down. So that was crazy. And it seems like it's not even within this lifetime, the stuff that we had to go through there. And, watching mom do what she had to do, not even now being an adult, imagining what her fears have had to have been, what she thought about going to bed, raising these two kids, being beaten down the way she was, trying to make ends meet, being poor. Being poor is one of the most stressful things that exists outside of abuse. And you had both of those things. So that was a big inspiration from a work ethic standpoint now that I was able to establish a work ethic of, wow, if you can get through that and lift people up, you can do a lot of things. But it took a long time to get here. Growing up, you remember I used to lie to people about where we lived because I was embarrassed of being poor.
Yeah.
Now it's a badge of honor.
Right.
If I could have told myself that when I was 12 or 11 of how proud I would be of coming from that, and that we made it all through that together.
Yeah.
But then that path continued. I planned on going to college. I planned on being a lawyer. It's my lifelong dream ever since I was, maybe 5 years old. I was going to go to law school. And, the plan was to just, student loans. Everyone could do that, and get some financial aid and student loans. And then my senior year, right after I graduated, actually, maybe 10 days after I graduated, I got arrested for possession of marijuana. And I had some paraphernalia that tried to put, a selling charge on there, basically. So I remember being arrested and the police officer saying, "You're being charged with a 20-year felony." And my heart sunk, like, oh my God. Well, he was lying. It was a 4-year felony, but still I was night in jail, and then getting ready to move to Lansing. So now plans have changed. I already planned on having to work a lot because I didn't have any money, but now that plan changed to, I need to work a lot. Because I was on probation. I had, legal fees to pay off, restitution. My entire open house money went towards that, and there's still more to do. So,
how much do you think all the fees overall were?
Oh, it was in total with the lawyer, the fees, restitution, it was over $17,000.
$17,000 coming out of high school. You have this charge on your record. You want to be a lawyer, so you're thinking about having this charge on your record on top of it. And we didn't have $17,000 to be in the hole.
No. So I got a job at this coffee shop. It's called Beaners. It's now Big B Coffee. And at the time, there's a guy who owned 4 of these franchises. And you could work at any single one of them, just rack up unlimited hours. So I would cover anyone's shift. I mean, I'd work from 6 a.m. to noon at the downtown store. I'd go to the west side and work from 2 to 11. And then sometimes I'd pick up at midnight to 6 at the 24-hour store in East Lansing. And I'd save all my tips and put it towards restitution. And my goal was just to get out of that as fast as possible because, I still had to go in to a probation office every month. And this is Ingham County felony probation. I'm the only person that's there for marijuana. I guarantee. I guarantee you. And I wanted to be from out underneath that control because I hated it. I mean, I used to have to list who your roommates were. And at this time, I'm living with guys that are continuing to get in trouble. And I'm like, do I put this person's name first and this person's name in the middle? And maybe they won't check this one. And so just trying to get up from underneath that, I was working a lot. I mean, we're talking, 90 to 110 hours a week of just like coffee barista, like food service work, like just, on your feet. And I enjoyed it though. And it taught me how to work hard. I actually didn't really have much of a work ethic before that. I think I was a pretty lazy kid, unless it came to sports or something I was interested in. And I really enjoyed starting to have that freedom. And I met this guy named Mohammed who owned the 4 Beaners, or Big B's. When I left there, he had 23 that I then managed. Now I believe he has 35. I started a different restaurant chain. This is a guy who came to America at age 19 from Egypt, couldn't speak a word of English, got a job at Burger King, ended up getting a job as the front desk clerk at nighttime at Marriott, had a boss that constantly made fun of him because of the language barrier and just made his life hell. And he said, I'm going to take this guy's job. And in 3 weeks, he had that guy's job. In 6 months, he was managing a hotel. And then when he left Marriott, the last few years of his job there, he was the one that they sent around the country to. If a hotel was going under, he'd spend 3 months there, 4 months there, completely, rebuilding this hotel. Or if they bought a Holiday Inn or turned it into a Marriott, like he became that guy. And he got the opportunity to open this Beaner's Coffee, and he really ran with it. And he noticed me working all the time. And one time he said to me, if do you think you'd ever get into a management role? And of course, I just wanted to make more money, and I really didn't have the discipline for it. But he was just like, if you could work for a son of a bitch like me, I will teach you how to run a business. And I will never forget that day in my life. It's like 12:30 in the morning at this 24-hour store, sit back in the office. And he's like, if you can work for a son of a bitch like me for at least 6 months to a year, I will teach you how to run a business. I promise you that. But you are not going to have fun doing it. And he was right on both of those accounts. So started off managing a store, had no idea what I was doing. There was a regional manager that was supposed to be like over me, training me. So Mohammed thought. And I'll never forget, 4 weeks into this job, and I'm losing staff, and I'm just working nonstop. People are not showing up, so I got to be there.
You're the one doing it.
Yeah, and then I'm just working so hard, and I get this call from Mohammed, and it's like, what the fuck? Or when I answer the phone, it's just he's screaming, like asking about all these costs. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what's this? What am I supposed to send to you? Like, I don't even know what that report is. Then he realized, like, oh shit, and he really spent, we'd go to lunch, twice a week, and he really spent time of teaching me, numbers and how important they were, and going through financial statements and cash flows, and this is what real numbers are, and this is what a financial statement is, and just that
how powerful is that skill. Like 18, 19 at this time.
Yeah, exactly. And the most important part is how to manage people, and the importance of managing people and developing people and having a bench of people, which is still so relevant in my life today. It was just priceless. And the journey I had with him was absolutely incredible. One store went to two store went to three went to 7, and then that went to 23. And, going from Toledo to Ann Arbor, to Kalamazoo, Lansing, it was really the journey of a lifetime. And to this day, we really thought about having a middle name as Muhammad if it was a boy.
Yeah.
Because that's how important he is to me. Just so important, and to Alyssa too. Because I would not be where I'm at right now. I'm very certain.
Absolutely.
I'd like to think I would have figured it out, but the tools that he gave me when he gave them, and just showing what, my mom already showed how to like lift up the hard work and the ethic, and he really showed me how to execute that and how to apply that. I'll never remember one day, I'll never forget telling, he's really on numbers on me one day, like, your numbers are down and you got all these problems. And I said, Muhammad, I'm working like 100 hours a week. He looked at me, he said, you should be so fucking embarrassed to tell me that.
Oh.
He's like, because I would do this in 15, 20 of what you're doing, but I do it well. Oh. He's like, come brag to me when you can do this in 30. I was like, oh shit, I thought you were just about hard work.
Yeah. He taught you there's a difference between hard work and working smart.
Smart work. And if you're working that hard in the business, covering these shifts, and you may maintaining the labor was really low because I was on salary and I was working all these hours.
Yeah.
But you're not growing a business. You're not doing anything that is going to last. If I go on vacation or I'm sick for a week, the whole damn place is going to fall apart. And that's not what management is about.
Or inevitably you burn out because you're going to burn out.
Yeah. If I need to be there to actively manage it, that's not what a manager is. That's what an employee is. So invaluable lessons. I'm forever still have a very strong relationship, and it's hard not to talk to him on the phone for 3 hours when I talk, just because I want to hit every subject, of just, especially now that I'm a father of, one of the first people, top 10 people that I told, just because I've watched him raise his kids, and what an amazing job that he did, because he managed it like a business.
And so, Killer, you talk about, and like in retrospect, people that know you now would never picture the guy that worked at Papa John's.
Oh my God. Papa John's were terrible. I just throw pizza dough at the fan just to like make my friend laugh. It was, I've thought about that a lot, especially when I was in the food business. I'm
Yeah.
like, that son of a bitch who worked there. This is like my nemesis now. Like, this is the worst person. Like, the person I used to be is the worst person. And it's actually good to see that. It's good to look at the bad aspects of yourself, of where you've been, and even now where you're at now. You know, if I can see what I'm doing poorly in someone else, that's pretty powerful. It's
powerful.
Like, wow, look at that jackass. Like, oh, maybe I'm doing that as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different, but it is so powerful to. Mistakes are beautiful. I mean, mistakes are really, truly a beautiful thing, as long as you don't let them get you down and you just realize, take them for what they are.
Yep.
You know, some are more detrimental than others, but what can you learn without making a mistake?
It's mistakes and the vulnerability. And you talked about it just a few minutes ago, and talking about like telling people we lived in a different space, in being embarrassed about it then. And now looking back at that and realizing it was a badge of honor for where you're at now. Yeah. Like when we're vulnerable, when we're out, when we put ourselves out there, it's a whole different outcome.
Absolutely. I've just been Owasso, the town we grew up, hardly ever go there. Yeah. But a good friend of mine from high school, his mom passed away. So I went to a funeral this weekend, and I never go to that town without taking the time to drive by where we used to live. I go up back in the alley in the back. I go around the front. I stop and look around the neighborhood, and it's a huge sense of pride.
For me, I for the longest time, I didn't think I'd ever achieve that, and I struggled hard in my early 20s and stuff like that. And so to see that, to go driving down and seeing that apartment and knowing how far we've come, and again to see what you're doing, it's like, man, like I take it as a badge of honor. I take this as like one of my greatest life accomplishments.
Absolutely. And you get, back then it was, being bullied, or, we used to have this car that one of the belts, it just squeals. So I'd ask mom to like drop me off like down the street. Now it's almost like I feel terrible thinking about that now, that I put her through that, of what she had to feel of me wanting to be dropped off down the street, when my God, she was just doing her damn best to be like, and beyond that. But I mean, that's
when you think about that, and you were talking about that a little bit ago, and I'm glad you came back to it, because I wanted to dive into that. You think about us now, we're at being parents, and now I'm like at 14, it's constantly like, am I doing the right thing? And that's what's just like with what we have going on. And you add in, you brought up about mom, like going through being alone, being by herself. We both got, strong spouses that, have our back,
absolutely
50% or more, like covering what we need to do in order to get it done. Mom was doing it all by herself, navigating through not having money, trying to figure out how to pay the bills, like going to school, working while making sure that we were well taken care of. You think, how in the hell, and like, how'd she do that?
The mental game to wake up and you did that job that she did, working in a nursing home. And I can't imagine, that's not an easy job. And then to come home and have to worry about these kids and worry about, the power is going to go out. Is my ex-husband going to run me off the road on the way home?
Yeah.
It's unfathomable to me. And I'm glad it's unfathomable to me now. I mean, I talk to customers, and I have so much empathy, and I share my story with them, because I talk to a lot of single mothers. I talk to a lot of people who have been through domestic violence and abuse, and my God, there is a way out there. There is a way out of there. There absolutely is. You just got to find that path and that mental side.
I talk about mom's story all the time, just taking that step, doing it, and leaving Randy, taking that step, being scared, not having money, like all the things that are happening. Like none of us have an excuse, because we're all sitting there thinking, is it now time to start a business? Is it now time to have a kid? Like, am I ready for any of these things? And it's, you're never ready. It's just all about, you got to take that step. And that's the big thing I got from mom, that like, again, I didn't put myself back in the shoes, because I was a kid, like how scary had to have been throughout that whole process. But we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that.
Well, what's our failure for trying to start a business? Might file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Might lose a lot of pride, might really be set backwards financially, really bad things. not life or death.
Yep.
Hers was.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and she, she never stopped thinking about us from that standpoint, and so everything she did was to make sure that we found a way to get ahead no matter what we were going through.
We were everything. I mean, she poured everything into us. So no, I'll forever be grateful for that. And it's such a great example.
So yeah, it's been huge, and just wanting to give back to Jackson and in our families, just once they never had to see that, right? And I remember a few years ago Jackson had one of his friends over that lived across the street, and he was talking about how one of his mom's boyfriends hit him, and he's sitting there talking about this on the couch, and like Jackson's like, can't believe what the kid is saying, because he can't fathom that happening in the household. And it's like one of those things of like, wow, like again, reversing the family circumstances, because that's something that we saw very common.
Yeah. Saw you get thrown down a flight of stairs. I've seen mom get beat up on Easter. I'd be like, yeah. It seems like a lifetime ago, but what a good thing that it is never had to be a part of that. But my God, the excuse that we don't have. I think about this. Natalie was 3 months old this past weekend.
Yeah.
Or just this, past weekend here, and I have no excuses for not being the best parent possible. Like with the resources that I have now, from what I know, from where getting to a comfortable financial, standpoint to be able to provide those resources for her. My biggest thing is making sure that she realizes where I came from, and that she, with not her ever having to see such ugliness in the world, but knowing that it exists. Someone asked me, what's the biggest thing that you want your kid to have? There's a lot of things. You want them to be smart. You want them to be, it's empathy.
Yeah.
I want to raise an empathetic human being who does not judge people, who is there for when people are being bullied, not the one bullying.
Yeah.
It's a big problem that we have right now in this world is people bullying each other and putting people down and not realizing how it's a very sensitive structure, like the mind. And if I can raise an empathetic child who cares about people, that will be a success.
That's my huge goal too. I think empathy is the most underrated quality in people. If we all had that empathetic strength, then the world would be a completely different place.
Empathy and rationality. The world would be a completely different place if we can care about one another, realize the struggles that people are going through, but also think through things rationally. Okay, I saw this news clip. I'm really riled up. I can't believe they're doing that to us. I can't believe they're doing it to them. Stop for a second and process that. Is that real?
Yeah.
If it is real, is it the way it's portrayed? Is this affecting me? Is this problem really the end of the world?
Yeah.
Like how instead of my only way forward is to think about how to go forward. I had a flat tire yesterday. Could be really pissed about that. Like,
yes.
Oh, call Jason. I'm not gonna be able to make it. This is gonna screw my day up. Like, no, that sucks. But you know what? Good thing there's car dealerships, and I'll take it to there. And good thing there's a rental car. I'll just take it. Good thing there's an Uber I can call to get there. And you just got to move forward, take your losses, and just think through things rationally. I think rationality is largely missing in the world.
It is, and that piece that you talk about, it's that it's that victim mentality almost. And this is a good example because we talk about Randy, and we talk about I mentioned in my early 20s struggling. I was stuck in the mindset of things were happening to me. Things happened to me because I had this shit dad that told me I'd be nothing, and we lived in these apartments, and we had no money, and I had to find my own way to. I had all these excuses for why I was in the situation that I was in, And then I think a big piece was when Randy committed suicide, and kind of reflecting on that and all the anger and everything that I had. Even probably took a little time after all that happened, processing all that anger and all that victimhood of why am I so mad at this dead guy? In thinking about I'm sitting here and I'm blaming him, and even let's say he had all the intent, he meant to damage me, and that was he meant for this to happen. Why am I even giving him that power? This guy's dead in the ground, and then why I'm not the victim? I can change that. That's happened, yeah, but it's not. There's other things that honestly, I'm here now. All my strengths came out of all those experiences. I wouldn't have that empathy probably as strong as what I have if I hadn't lived through those experiences. When I talk to salespeople, I had salespeople on my team, and they would be telling me their horrible things they were going through in life. I could relate to them because I'd been through a lot of the same things they had been through. And they'd get done talking and be like, I feel like you understand. And I'm like, I do understand. You have no idea how much I understand. And that was like my superpower in order to relate to people, right? To be able to help them get what they needed to achieve because I could relate. I wasn't just some guy that couldn't understand.
Being a victim or feeling like you're a victim is a very strong poison. And I think it's one of the worst poisons.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that even if you are a victim, you shouldn't treat yourself as a victim because there's no way forward in that. You know, some bad things can happen. Bad shit happens. I mean, bad things might happen later today. Someone's finding out they have cancer right now.
Yep.
Someone's finding out their loved one has cancer right now. Someone just lost a child. And those are people who are victims.
Yeah.
But they're not going to move forward unless they get out of that mentality either.
Yep.
And I've learned a lot of strength of that, in the business I'm in now in insurance. I see a lot of bad things happen to people. Had a woman's child who's murdered a couple of months ago. How do you come out of that? But hearing how she talks now, she's like, I want my memories of my son to be good. I want his life to have been a purpose.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is to tell his story and move forward. And so people find their way. But being a victim, you're just going to hold yourself in place, and it's going to be a party of one feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah. And you're going to miss out on all the other amazing opportunities. I could sit there in that shell and I could, and there's paths that different people go. If I was still sitting here and blaming everything and just being like, yeah, of course this happened to me. That was the way, that's just my luck. And you hear people say that all the time. That's just my luck, or that's just the way life is. And, and accept all that stuff. Like, I'm in this completely different path than what I am now, as opposed to, yeah, this stuff happened, but it doesn't define me, and they don't have that power over me. I get to go in now, give back to other people that are going through that experience.
Right. Yeah, grew up that way. Why? Of course, my brakes went out. This is what always happens to me.
Yeah.
I have that kind of bad luck. Well, no, because I drove shitty cars because I was broke.
Yes,
that's why.
Yes.
So, getting yourself out of that, getting yourself to a position of not even so much earning a lot of money, but being able to earn money and manage that. I think something I've tried to really learn the last couple of years, I kind of got there by accident, but is delayed gratification. I think delayed gratification is one of the most powerful tools that we have of, I have a little bit extra money. I could go do this right now, but what if I just put that money away and save for the future? Because I'm really going to need that, or I might need that on a rainy day. Fact is, the less money that you have from a cushion, the more that you are going to feel like a victim, the more that bad things are going to happen to you. Like my tire going flat. When I was 20, that would have been a devastating, that would have been a really devastating thing. Now it's like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not going to change my life.
You're going to get it fixed and move on.
Exactly. So, you hold your own power when you are able to be in control of your financial world and have that. And delayed gratification is part of that. And I think it's something that, once again, when I'm thinking about being a parent, teaching my daughter of, hey, let's bake a cake.
Yeah.
First of all, I say that actually cooking and baking is one of the best things that you can do for a young child, because you're giving them a responsibility, you're giving them ownership in what they're about to eat, involves measurements. Mm-hmm. But then we're not going to eat the cake when it comes out of the oven. That's for tomorrow. That's for 4:00, whatever. There's actually the scientists back in, I want to say the 60s that did called the marshmallow test.
Yes.
Where, they put all these 300 toddlers, they put them in a room with a marshmallow, and you very thoroughly explain to them, I'm going to leave this room for 5 minutes. If you eat that marshmallow, that's the only marshmallow you're going to get. But if I come back here in just 5 minutes and that marshmallow is still there, I'm going to reward you with another one, so you'll have 2 marshmallows. Well, they watch these kids, a lot of them didn't last 3 seconds. Some of them made it almost all the way there, and there's a small group of kids that didn't eat the marshmallow. And then fast forward, I think it's 18 years, they go back and they see how these kids have developed. And the kids that didn't take the marshmallow were way more emotionally stable.
Yeah.
They had way less symptoms of ADD. They had more, more better in school, better prospects for college, better prospects for employment. Delayed gratification. It's huge.
That is huge, because even an entrepreneur, just in any day life, there's always these shiny objects that come at you. They can really distract you from what the focus and the clarity is.
Absolutely. Every day.
Every day. Every day.
But to have that cushion is, it's such a feeling of safety, and you need a safety net. Otherwise, you are always going to be stressed. There's a reason why people that live in poverty die sooner. It's not all because they have that much worse healthcare. Sometimes with you're on Medicaid, you have pretty good health insurance.
Yeah.
But the stress that brings onto you, living paycheck to paycheck, if the furnace goes out, if the brakes go out, you can't live like that.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot live like that. And I always say I think everyone should work in the food industry. I truly do believe that, because it teaches you some really gritty work. It teaches you how to deal with people. It teaches you how to be on part of a team, how to respect people. I also feel like most people should have that feeling of being poor in their life, because ever since I was 20, 19, I go to work every single day. I never want to be poor again.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to be poor again. Not saying I'm going to be a billionaire, but I never want to be poor again.
Yeah.
And that drives me all of the time.
It's like you have to tie down to a why, because there's going to be shit that you have to do that you don't want to do.
Unpleasant. Some of the best things you do are unpleasant. And I think there's a lot of value in falling in love with the unpleasant things, the little unpleasant things, because that's why there's so much self-help stuff. That's why there's so much, get rich fast, do this, because everyone's looking for that silver bullet. Well, no, you have to do unpleasant things. Sales is a great, familiar with cold calls.
Yeah.
Like, necessary.
Yeah.
Even as the business is changing and, calls may not be, the same.
You have to do
putting yourself out there, doing little things every single day, exercise, whatever it may be, it's unpleasant. You have to do if you want to live a fulfilled life and be successful. Honestly, there's no other way to get there. There's really no other way to get there.
There's no easy way, and it's you hit one of my biggest pet peeves in the world is like the surface. We all want the surface solution, the easy pill, the fat loss thing, the quick, secret to be either successful or good looking or fit or whatever. And there's no quick way. And part of it is like your biggest lessons are through the failures.
Yeah,
you can't just get success. You don't just win a championship.
Well, and winning the lotto. But I think there's a whole entire TV series about how the lotto ruined my life, because the people that play the lotto all the time and win, they've never known what it was like to have that kind of money, and they still blow it. In the meantime, they blow up all their relationships and blow their life up in the meantime. So I stand very sturdy on the fact that the only way is to go through the unpleasant things and have a regimen of it.
Yeah.
You can't just do something unpleasant one day, like, we're going to hold a call night or a call-a-thon for sales. Great. Did you have like a surge come through, maybe that had some, a little bit of business come through? Like, no, you have to do the unpleasant every day.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, it's going to take a long time to catch that back up, because it's all a flow process.
Well, and then you're hitting on consistency, because like I could go to the gym, and this is what happens. A lot of people, they go to the gym and like you want to achieve the body of your dreams in one day. That's not going to happen. If you go to the gym and you work out, and I see it happen, people work 3-4 hours out at the gym. Nobody has that time. Nobody has that time and commitment. And then on top of it, if you haven't worked out and then you went to the gym for 3 to 4 hours, you're feeling so sore for the next 5 days that you don't go back to the gym. It's when I go to the gym, if I'm out of shape and haven't been there, it's knowing I got to go back in, because I know that I got to get into a consistent process. I have to be consistent. For me, I was out of the gym completely, not doing anything for like a year. And then in March, a friend, BJ, contacted me and was like, hey, you want to go to the gym with me? So I started going, and I'd go like 2 or 3 times. But then I was like basically 2 times a day, 2 times a week, not, just kind of like getting by, maintaining, right? In November, it's like looking at my calendar and being like consistent, like planning it out, scheduling. And I've been able to get in 5 days a week, every week since November. And you're looking at that consistency. I'm now at 72 workouts, since November. It's not about what I get in, the 18, 19, 20 workouts I get in per month, depending on how many days are in the month, but like it's about the 72, 74 amongst that period of time. I'm changed. My body's changed. The way I think is changed. What I'm eating is changing. Like all of that changes.
Yeah.
But it's consistent.
Well, there's a reason why the worst time to go to the gym is in January. But the most pleasant time to go to the gym is in February, because all those people that were there in January, that New Year's resolution, like, well, we'll try again next year. In the coffee business, January is always the worst time, because I'm going to quit drinking caffeine. I'm going to save this money every day. But they're back in February. And it's not because it's easy. I mean, there's no silver bullet or no cure to like working out. It's going to be, so for some people enjoy it. I don't. So I have to find ways. I'm a big tracker. Like I have to track things physically, often on paper, old school wise, to keep me accountable to it. Like push-ups, for example. I do push-ups every single day. Just had my anniversary of doing them on this February 18th, and tracking that every day. I would maybe have to check myself into a hospital if I missed that day. I mean, I've gotten to like 11:57 p.m. before. This last summer, it was at a dance club in Detroit, the kind of place that you don't even want to. You want to throw your shoes in the basement when you get home just because the floors are so gross. And it was 12:50 or 11:57 p.m. Like I hadn't done push-ups today, and I panicked and I went upstairs by the bathrooms and I did them on this nasty ass floor. That is just like unspeakable.
I know how you are with
but
like.
I was panicked. I was absolutely panicked because of what do I do now? I got to restart this all over again. Like that'd be terrible. So I have to track things.
It's like this is, and you talk about doing the things you don't want to do, right? You are so committed to this. You're getting down on the floor on stickiness, and like I've known you my whole life. You're the guy that goes in the bathroom and opens the door with your elbow. Like
exactly. And of course the bathroom had no soap in it. They had some hand sanitizer that I'm pretty sure was like really cheap tequila. So I put that all on me. So yeah, that was a lot. I mean, and obstacles come along with the fact of, so February 18th, that would have been 6 years of me doing push-ups every single day. Well, February 18th is also my wife's birthday, Melissa's birthday. So I take her up north. We stay at this really cool house on like this bluff like overlooking Lake Michigan. Well, on February 17th, we're coming home from dinner. It snowed 7 inches. I get stuck going up the driveway. Can't get out. Get Natalie out in the car seat. Thank God, safely like walked her up. But then I'm like, I need to get this car out. So I was trying to like shovel around it, which was dumb because there was really like ice that was the reason it was stuck.
oh yeah.
But I threw the shovel down and I couldn't find it. Like, oh shit, like this plow is going to hit this shovel. The owner's going to hit it. I'm going to lose my great Airbnb reviews and rating. And so I'm trying to find it. And I just hit the ground, hit my head, shoulder. Is one of those falls to where when I fell, I was like, I need to get up immediately. It felt that hard. If I don't get up immediately, like I might be out here. And I went back in and was like, hey, you need to go to like the urgent care ER. I'm like, we're in Sutton's Bay. That's like 30 minutes away. Like, no. I looked up concussion. Like, there's nothing to do for concussion. They say I shouldn't go to sleep. I'm in a lot of pain, so I'm probably not going to sleep anyways. Like, we're not going. But my side hurt so bad. My shoulder hurt so bad that the next day I agreed to go to the urgent care in Traverse City. And sure as shit, I have a sprained AC joint. And I've ended up having a hairline fracture in 2 ribs. This is the second time I've had a rib issue in like 3 years. But the next day, I already did my push-ups that day. But the next day was going to be 6 consecutive years of doing push-ups. So I get the x-ray back, and the doctor's like, I'm going to give you ibuprofen 800 for inflammation, and, I don't know if it's maybe Loratab for the pain. I'm like, I don't need, I'll just take 4 Motrins for the inflammation. Like, I'm not going to wait to go to the pharmacy. We've already taken 2.5 hours being here. I definitely do not need, like, narcotics. Like, I think it's going to be fine. It hurts, but, like, I'll get through it. I'm like, let me ask you, like, can I do more damage to it? Like, such like the AC joint. I've been through ribs, so I know that's fine. But like the AC joint, can I do more damage to it? Like, we're gonna go hiking today, and he's like, well, I'd be careful with that. You might fall. And like, what about push-ups? And he's like, oh, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, well, can I do more damage? He's like, no, but there's no medical term I can think of besides stupid. Like, I'm not sure why you do that. I'm like, but I couldn't do more damage. You say, and he's like, I guess not. So. Did it that day. Holy hell. I usually have a minimum of 40 as a set as my requirement. I can only get up 24. Alyssa's just shaking her head like, don't do this. I'm like, no, I've been to the places I've done them in boats. I've done them on the street. I've done them like, it's not going to stop today.
On this 6th year.
I know, like, it would ruin your birthday. I'm not going to be in a good mood.
I was going to say, it would ruin your mood. It would ruin her birthday.
But I think continuing to do them, and I could be completely wrong with this, could just be the healing process. The ribs still hurt like hell, but the shoulder's feeling better. And, each day I do more again. So it's, it worked out.
It's like, I have not heard this story, so it's incredible. This reminds me of some David Goggins shit. Like we're doing the push-ups.
It's funny you say that. Like, I have no David Goggins, but when Melissa and I were like joking, like she knew I was going to continue to do it. And I was like, stay hard. Like, what would Goggins say? Like, stay hard. He's like, so some little bitch broke his ribs and he said he wasn't gonna. I try to hear that voice all the time. You don't need to be that extreme necessarily as Goggins, but that mentality is perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we're talking about. He lives for the unpleasant. I mean, he really to the extreme,
to the unhealthy extreme.
To the unhealthy extreme. But I love that mindset of this is a guy who was 300 and some pounds, working overnight as like the Orkin man, like what you call those people, pest control.
Oh man,
like dealing with rats at night and then going getting this huge milkshake afterwards. And watches a Navy SEAL documentary, which I've watched several of, has not convinced me to try to be a Navy SEAL, but it convinced him. And here this guy is. Like, this is the ultimate testament of, man, your mind. And that's where that rule where he has comes from, where when you feel like the limitations.
Yeah.
What the pull-ups, I think, is his example of, I can't do a single one. His belief, Navy SEAL belief, is you have 40% left now.
Yeah.
That's when you have 40% left, because that's just your body telling you that. Your mind has more. It's just you got to grow it and push it there.
Yeah. You got to push that comfort zone.
I re-listen to that book all the time. Anytime I'm having a day where I feel like a little bitch, like you would say, I got to listen to David Goggins tell me that I'm one. But you got to find the way.
Yeah.
Just because you have a good system in place and you consider myself a good manager, I'm always trying to get better, but I'm not saying that I'm there. I'm not saying that every day I wake up and, just going to keep on going. I mean, I love what I do. I absolutely love my life, but those days that are dreary, you still need some motivation, and you got to be prepared for that. It's like having an emergency savings for if your car goes broke, or if you lose your job, or if you become disabled. You got to have that mental backup as well. If I know I'm going to have these days. I know I'm going to have days where I didn't sleep last night because I have some insomnia issues, or I just don't feel good today.
Yeah.
But I can't miss today. I can't just check out today. So what's my backup plan? YouTube's my backup plan. Audible's my backup plan. Like, I have a whole toolbox full of those things, because I know that it's going to come eventually, and I know how to lift myself back up. And it might change.
Yeah.
But I got to be on top of that. That's my responsibility if I want to continue to be a successful human. And it's more my responsibility because I have a wife and a daughter, and people that depend on me to, not only from a financial standpoint, but more so from an emotional standpoint, and being there and being someone that is going to be positive, set a good example, be uplifting. And so you got to have those tools in your toolbox. You can't just assume that it's always going to be great. So what are you going to do when it's not?
It's huge. I'm glad you brought that part up. It's just like, it's so important that there's so many people that you could be successful. You can, and it can be almost obsessive. You think about like Goggins, and I love Goggins. I go back to that book all the time too. But then I think like his family must hate him. Like, he talks about all his ex-wives. I don't think he has any relationship with his kids. Like, so there's that driven success, but then there's like being the center of your family, bringing that positive energy, not being somebody miserable to be around, not like for your wife and kid to be like happy that you're home, right? And that was like always big for me for them to be happy that I was there, not glad that I was leaving.
And for you to be happy while you're home.
Exactly. Because like, if I'm not happy when I'm home, it's the chicken before the egg, right? How do you create that?
Right. Not only are you not happy to be there, not only are you not present for them, you're also making them feel it as well.
Yes.
So it's a multiplying effect, and just so many things I've realized that we have to constantly think about, just to slow down a little bit, slow down our minds, slow down our life a little bit, and just think, how is this going to work today? How are my actions going to affect? And maybe I messed up today. Maybe I got home and I was in a bad mood. Okay, what triggered that, and how can I do that differently tomorrow? Because just because it happened one day, I need to go back to the drawing board. I need to get that consistency back, because especially with having, the daughter now, like, everyone tells you, it's the biggest cliche in the damn world. Like, they grow up so fast. just before you know it, she's going to be this one right here, this 22-year-old. He was just there. And now I was like, wow, they really grow up fast. This is crazy. I remember when she was like this. And so, those days, she was born 10 days early.
Yeah.
And I had anxiety about that because, I just hired 2 people and I was trying to get that like up and running. And so I could be away and I want to support my team. And I just needed more time. And I remember Alyssa, I was also sick at the time. And Alyssa, wakes up on the couch because I'm sick. And she's like, I think I'm going into labor. I'm like, no, you're 10 days early. Like, no, go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep.
This is fine. And, sure as hell, we have now the next day, 10 days early. And it just hit me 2 days ago. I don't know, to think about it this way, like, I am so glad you were born 10 days early because that is 10 more days that we got with you. And
that's so awesome,
just
man.
to think about it that way for the very first time of not like, oh, you've been here 10 extra days, but like life is so limited.
Yeah.
I hope I am here for a very, very long time. But even if I am, that's still not enough days. So that extra 10 days, so damn thankful for him.
I love hearing you say that, man, because I remember being Thanksgiving and seeing the stress on you. Like, I've got these people, she's going to have to wait. And Alyssa was like, I'm ready.
Well, we were going out dancing. And Alyssa was walking like every day and on the bike and doing this, like bouncing on the ball. I'm like, maybe you should slow that. You seem like you're having some contractions. Like, maybe you just slow it down a little bit. Like, we wanted to come like a little bit early, but not too early. Like, we kind of need time here. But what a gift.
It's incredible. Kind of alluding into this conversation and going back to like thinking about Muhammad, how do you now go back and pay that forward in that experience that you got now being in that leadership position? How do you pay that forward and give back to your team?
Education. Education is the most important thing that I do. And it's not just developing my team for here's our sales process. Here's how you call a lead. Here's how you have a conversation with someone. This is why this product is so important. It's outside of that of how actually things that don't apply to our job work. Mm-hmm. Have you guys started saving for your retirement? The Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting just came out with Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, my 2 idols. Let's watch some clips from this because I think these are some really sound life advice. Talking about the things that pass on from Muhammad. Spending as much time as I can with them, on one-on-one in the group settings of talking about things that don't even matter to our job. It's not going to affect my business, but it's investing in them. And I think it shows that I care about them because I really do. I really, really care about my team. Mm-hmm. And I love talking about it. And I did get that passed on to me. There are so many things. I used to sit in Mohammed's office after working a full day until like 10:30 at night. We would just talk shit for like 3-4 hours. And just so much stuff outside of even business that I would learn from him that I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah.
Not having a dad.
Yeah.
I still not a fish. He didn't teach me that, but there's just, I owe it as a responsibility. And that's why when I got into insurance, it wasn't insurance that at the time that interested me. I didn't know a damn thing about insurance when I made that transition. Zero.
Yeah.
It sounded boring as hell. That's all I knew. But I knew I had the opportunity to open a business and grow a team. And that's what I knew I wanted after my time at Big B was I loved managing people. I love watching someone go from here to there.
Yeah.
I love taking a risk on someone that people wouldn't have taken a risk on and helping them through it. And sometimes it doesn't even work out, but I still get to pass it on to them. And I really, really enjoy that coaching process. So that's how I try to pass it on is the things that I wish I would have known at that time. Or, sometimes there's even people that are older than me, but they're in different stages of, what's important to you personally?
Yeah.
And what are you doing about it? And, if I can be a resource at all, how can I help? Because I see that as my job. It's not just about my business. It's about
you're growing people.
The people that I'm managing. Exactly.
In the legacy of that, you think about it, just Muhammad, coming in and changing your life and how many layers deep that goes because it impacts Alyssa, it impacts Natalie. It's going to impact their kids. It's like Natalie's kids. Like it's that level.
Generational.
It's generational.
Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely generational. Once again, I'd like to think that I would have found that spark. I would have found that ambition. I have a decent mind. I'm just not sure where it would have gone if I wouldn't have had all that time with him.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have just, leaned in forward and put up with it. There used to be times where
Huge.
this is bullshit, but there used to be times I'd tell my friends when I was like 2021, like I could be a Navy SEAL, really. I mean, if I could make it through this guy,
With
like,
Muhammad.
I think a drill sergeant would not that. I mean, he's calmed down a lot over the years, but like he's be in your face, just like screaming of like, I remember his favorite phrase, like, "Who's the fucking genius that decided to?" And he was always referring to you when he was saying that. He knew who the genius was.
He already had the answer.
And it really thickened my skin. And at first I didn't realize it, but I was very, what you call offensive.
Yeah.
It's very, but
Ego driven. Like your ego was.
well, it's just, but you're not seeing it my way. You're not right on this. That, you keep saying like, you need to stop being so defensive. Like it looks unintelligent just because you need to stop and listen. And maybe you are right. But when you come off thinking that you're right and you're not even listening to the whys, you're definitely not. And there's two major things he taught me really quickly was I got to be organized and to stop being defensive, because defensive comes off as a weakness. And I've never seen anyone like kick someone. Like he used to call people on speakerphone, like contractors, people that are messing with us. And like we just listen to them, just tear these people apart. And it was just the most like
Enjoyable. These stories I'd get secondhand.
Oh, like on your heels, just you're like, oh, this is coming down. Like it's amazing. But it wasn't because he was defensive. It's because he listened to the person's argument and then, go from there.
Yeah.
I think it kind of goes to the point of, I think if you disagree with someone, you really need to think about their point. You really need to think about the opposition, especially with something that's really important to you. You really need to think about the opposition before you state how you truly feel about that, because there are personal experiences that go into it. There's a lot of things that you may have not considered that you're going to look like a fool get into a conversation about if you haven't thought about every side of it. It's like almost like every best idea you have, you should really think about what the best argument against it is, because maybe it's not even the best idea. Absolutely. And if it is, you might need to defend it. Yeah. So it's just, it really taught me how to come off educated is, don't be defensive. Like I'm not attacking you. I may be yelling in your face, but I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to teach you.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like I had the image of
that.
like Tom Izzo. Like Muhammad's like Tom Izzo in a way.
That's exactly what I thought of it. And Tom Izzo looked just like Muhammad has calmed down quite a bit, from where he actually used to be. But I thought about that the same way as well. And, people, diehard MSU fan, I'm huge supporter of Tom Izzo, and I've heard many Michigan State fans throughout the past few years, like, hey, the game's passed Izzo by, and Izzo needs to go, and maybe the game has passed him by a little bit. He is a little old school, and it's going to get more difficult. But what it comes down to is, if I had a kid that could play basketball, who would I want coaching my kid? Like, it's not just like I was talking about with not talking all about my business. These kids are learning things that are not about Spartan basketball. That are not about playing the game, not about winning for the program, not about making the tournament. He's a father figure to these guys. Like, he teaches them life. This is where parents want their kids to go, because and what he's always said is the reason I keep coaching is because people keep coming back, and the reunions that they have. And there's a lot to be said about that. And especially in, college sports, it's one and done. People just trying to get to where they're going as fast as possible. Well, maybe you don't have all the tools yet. Yeah. If you go to the NBA and you're 19 years old, Deontay Davis, a lot of people, you go to the NBA and you're 19 years old.
Marcus Taylor.
Are you ready for that? Are you ready for the life things that you're going to encounter, that maybe you needed someone in that figure who knows this life?
When you think about these athletes anyway, and because most of them have been star athletes, people around them tell them what they need to hear or what they want to hear versus what they need to hear. And Izzo's that guy that'll tell you what you need to hear. He comes at it, whether he's yelling at you and screaming at you in the face. And I think this is the big thing that Muhammad probably had possessed too, is that empathy, right? He truly cares. He truly wants what's best for them, right? And so it's his job and to mentor them while he's there. You had Muhammad, I had Dean around the same time. We had very similar paths, and that we found somebody. And you said something very key a little bit ago, is that you're receptive. A couple months ago, I was in the bank now over here at Fifth Third, and this young lady walked in, and she was from Bigby, or she worked at Bigby, and so she was talking to the banker, and she was talking about she had this experience with this guy who owned another store that kid come in and gave them a talk or whatever, and like she was like talking bad about this guy, and I was like, hey, like, who are you talking about? And she's like, oh, this guy's name's Mohammed Shtai. He owns a bunch of Big B's, like he comes in, I've heard he's like an asshole and all this different stuff, and like saying bad stuff about Mohammed. Like, so I was like, I started talking, I was like, that's crazy. I'm like, my brother worked for him and had a phenomenal experience with him. And then she was like, well, I guess it's just whether you're willing to listen. And I think I said, I think that's the big thing is like people come into your life. Are you willing to listen? They might not be telling you what you want to hear. Pharrell from NERD says this in the song Lemons, like the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Like people are going to come into your life and going to tell you things. Dean used to piss me off so bad telling me stuff. I remember a specific story, Muhammad calling you out on like your finances and like numbers and like, like how that could like piss you off and get to you because he's attacking like areas where you are not confident in anyways.
Right. I'm working hard. Like you don't see the, like,
I'm working hard.
You don't appreciate the hard work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you? There's no results. That's nothing to be proud of. I'm trying to teach you how to do it the right way to where you actually have a lifestyle as well. Like you're not doing any good for either of us because you're also making mistakes because you're extremely tired. And no, I think we should, it's hard to do even knowing this, but we should look for the bad in ourselves. We have so much to improve on. And that's still old saying of finding people, don't hang out with people that are worse than you. I always try to find people to hang out with that are better than you. And
absolutely,
there's a reason for that because we all have so much to grow. And I know, and if I ever do a joint appointment with my team or, have a phone call or send out an email, I'll bring them in. Like, how could I have done this better? What went well? What did not go well? Yeah, we can talk about what went well, but yeah, that's great. It went well. What didn't go well and what could we do better? Because number one, I appreciate your guys' feedback, but like, I know that I have a lot to grow. I know that there's a lot that I could be doing better in so many aspects. And it's hard to even be conscious about that all the time it's not just unpleasant to me anymore. It's just constantly thinking about it. Like, okay, how could that have gone better? Like, I know that did not go as well as it could have, that I'm capable of.
Yeah.
What would I do differently next time? And most times it's slowing it down, slowing your mind down and being more thoughtful before you speak and more thoughtful before you act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Mandela. Mandela like had that whole like when he would come to a meeting or he'd come to wherever he'd go, like he's Mandela. People wanted to hear him speak, but he would ask questions because he wanted to understand perspective. A lot of what you're talking about now, he wanted to understand perspective before he went and spoke because he might be speaking about something that's completely irrelevant.
All right, and if you don't understand what you're talking about, you're like a one-legged man in an asking competition. It is not going to go very well for you.
This is the second time I've heard that in like a couple of days. That's so awesome.
Some of my favorite quotes.
I love that. What do you... We've talked a lot about like working hard from a really young age. What do you do now? And obviously family and you have Natalie, you have all these new experiences. What have you done or what do you do to take care of yourself, to refill, to like, I guess, get outside of work?
Music has been humongous for me. And this has not always been the case. I mean, I've always enjoyed music, but right before the pandemic began in March, we started seeing like the news about, China and COVID and like, this might kind of be a thing. And just kind of started thinking about records and I started going to like seeing my DJ shows. And so I bought a record player and I had one vinyl record. So I bought the record player and next thing you know, that turned into buying 2 different turntables and a mixer. And now I got this vinyl collection going and that has been huge for me. Before Natalie was born, I mean, there was a time where I was going out 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week to go see shows, go dance. And you're looking at a guy that would have never danced in front of anyone in the world.
Yeah.
But that ability to not care. And I've adapted that in many ways in my life of, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. I don't even give a damn. So, just letting loose. So in the relationships I've formed in the meantime within people that are in the music industry, club owners, people that work at the bars and the clubs. And I mean, it turned into like actually really great friendships. And at the same time, getting to see a lot of cool music, and then teaching myself how to DJ, at home and collecting records. And that went from 0 to hundreds like really fast because it's really fun to go pick them out. And it's just a relationship based scene. Going to different venues and parties in Detroit that I didn't even know exist, like this whole underground world that doesn't even exist, and I didn't even know existed, and that's been huge for me. That has been absolutely humongous. I mean, I play probably a couple hours a week, not as much. Just home life is busy. Natalie does have about 10 of her own records right now, like Sesame Street and et cetera that I found, but that has been tremendous. And it's one of the things that has changed my life. There's been many points of, who I am today is not who I will be in a couple of years. And sure as hell, it's not who I was a couple of years ago. You keep changing.
Yeah.
And I've had many points in my life, Muhammad saved my life.
Yeah.
Beginning with mom and grandma saved my life by their courage.
Yeah.
Muhammad saved my life to help me get out of where I was at and to learn how to try to be excellent and to live an excellent life. House music and that whole scene changed my life a lot. It made me way more naturally extroverted. I've always told you I'm an extroverted person.
Yeah.
But I always had a good amount of social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I did a really good job of knowing I had to overcome it because I'd never be able to be successful if I didn't. That really cured that for me. Now there'd be many times, especially when before Natalie was born and a couple times since, like I have no problem going out to a club by myself. If there's a DJ I wanted to see and Alyssa was busy or, didn't, especially when she was like really pregnant and didn't want to go, I'd go by myself and dance my ass off and meet new people and talk to them and absolutely love it. So that really changed my life as far as just giving me a whole new sense of confidence and giving me a whole new sense of enjoyment. And every place I walk into now, I'm going to sit at the bar. I'm going to just the meeting new people and the common links that you find and the stories that you hear and just so many interesting things that you are able to fall upon if you just let yourself do it. And these past couple of years of doing that have been just absolutely amazing.
I asked this question because I know I've heard you talk about that conversion. I remember watching you like going and dancing and stuff like that, and like you could tell that you were not comfortable doing it. And then so you were telling me that story. I'm like, that is fucking phenomenal. That is amazing to see that and like be able to go and like just be comfortable to go and dance your ass off by yourself and be comfortable and confident and do whatever you want to do. Right. That's amazing, but it touches on a couple of things that I'm very consistent with. It's been very consistent throughout these 100 episodes through so many different guests. And it's one that when you put yourself out there, when you stop giving a shit about what people think, who you truly are, and you just put yourself out there and you're so completely comfortable, the right people come into your life. You attract so many cool people. And then the other key piece is that people are our greatest resources. You mentioned it, and like I've mentioned it several times in this show. Like there's people that have changed the course of my life, that have saved my life, right? And you said Muhammad, and then you talked about music, and it's a whole entire scene, a culture, people that brought into your life. Like by not giving a shit, by being you, and then just going out and being open and being receptive to meeting new people, it changes your life.
Well, what are we in this world for?
What are we in this world for?
We're in this world for a very limited time.
Yep.
Hopefully, Warren Buffett has this quote, and someone asked him, what do you want to say in you've lived this very meaningful life. You've given to philanthropy. You've been the greatest investor of all time. What do you want it to say on your tombstone? And without even thinking for a second, my God, he was old. Is what he wants to say on his tombstone. So I hope for a nice, long, healthy life. But no matter how long we live, we're in this world for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So what brings us joy? Well, connecting with other people and building new relationships and sharing those stories and experiences. I mean, that is everything. And putting yourself out there, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
What's the worst thing to happen?
I mean, I'll never forget. It's actually this, you've been there at Market North End in Birmingham. I've gone there and networked a lot and built a lot of relationships there. This has also been part of that too, of just meeting a lot of new people that have helped my business and also people that I'm actually really good friends with. You know, when Natalie was born, these are some of the first people I heard from. You know, something's gone wrong. These are some of the first people I've heard from. Just people I've met at a bar, just having lunch that turns into networking and became a little bit more strategic networking. But never forget, as there are a few people I know, and White Boy Rick walks in. And this is like not too long after he got out of prison. And I was like, oh my God, like everyone's like, that's White Boy Rick. And I'm like, holy shit, like I'm gonna go talk to him. Like, what? Like, why are you gonna go talk to White Boy Rick? I'm like, because I think he deserves someone to give him a well wish. Like, he's like, yeah, what are you gonna say to him? Like, does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
And so everyone's just kind of like watching me as I go over there, and I had no idea what I was gonna say to him actually. But I go up to him, I shake his hand, and it's like, hey, I just want to let you know it is so good to see you on this side. Like, you deserve it. They can never give it. You can never get back what they took from you. But I am so glad to see you on this side, and I just want to wish you well. And like he brought me in for like a bro hug and was just like, thank you so much. Like I really appreciate it. And he was genuinely happy and genuinely nice. And I've seen him a couple times since then, and he always shakes my hand. I mean, it's just what could go wrong? What's he gonna do? Tell me to fuck off? Okay, fine. I'll go sit back down.
Fine.
He's not gonna hit me. He's on parole.
And then guess what? You'll always have a story about how Right Boy Rick was an asshole. Right. But no, you don't.
No, he's not. He's a nice guy. And since that day, I followed him on Instagram, and that's a story about a mindset. You know, this is a guy that isn't like, oh my God, I'm because you have every right. They've taken your best years away.
Yeah.
I think 33 years in prison he spent.
Yep.
Mrs. Dad died. You know, he went in at 16. No one can ever, he's I think suing the government for $100 million. Even if he were to get it, which he's not going to, put a price tag on not living the best years of your life. They took away having girlfriends when you were young. They took away so many things, so many family members that you couldn't see.
What are you going at, 16, 17?
16.
You think about the story that you had. You didn't meet Muhammad until you were 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He missed that.
How easy would it be to be every day just, they took this from me.
Yep.
I'm so mad. I'm so angry. But the grace that he's had of like, you know what? All I can do is try to advocate for others. And he started an organization to advocate for others who are locked up that shouldn't be. That's a mindset. That's a strong mindset of they've taken my life away, but they're not going to take a second away more of me sitting here being angry.
Yep.
And if we all can take way less extreme circumstances and apply that, seems pretty damn easy now.
Pretty damn easy. Same thing with Mandela. Mandela was taking the bulk of, and he sat and had dinner with the guys that locked him up. Like,
amazing.
It's amazing. Think about that. If you can do that, if those two guys can do that, and we haven't been robbed of from our life, right?
Right.
You said something a minute ago, and it made me think of something, and I hope you remember this because it was a big impact on me. This was a few years ago. It was within the first year after Grandma died, and Mom was kind of unpacking this stuff that Grandma had, and she had these like little wine bottle toppers with like Santa hats. Do you remember these?
Oh yeah.
And Mom made a comment that Grandma had gotten them for you like a while back, but was afraid that if she gave them to you, like you wouldn't like them, or that you would be, that she was embarrassed to like give them. She overthought it.
Broke my heart.
Like it's hard to even say, right? Like it breaks my heart because like we all sat and loved it after the fact. Like,
yeah.
It had why it stood out to me, and why like it was just a big life changer. Is like we do only live one life. Like you think about like she wasn't there, and we're sitting there and loving it, but she like literally had the thought of like, what did she have the thought of? I don't even know. Like what could possibly happen in the bad thing, but like you think about people that hold themselves back from just the littlest things. That's just a little tiny thing. What do people hold themselves back from? For what?
And that sent me into a few days of a spiral of just a really sadness and thinking and reflecting on myself of how did I act to make her feel that she wasn't good enough? Because my God, this woman helped raise me. And, she was everything. So it broke my heart that she felt that way. It really, really did.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, that's so heavy. It's like one of those things like that you think about, man. But it was just, what do I care? I'm going to die, right? Like it's one of those things, like it's the realization we're all going to die, and hopefully to the Warren Buffett piece, it says on my gravestone, he was really old.
Yeah.
I really do hope that. But the fact of the matter is people woke up today, went to bed last night thinking they were going to wake up, and they didn't. A couple weeks ago, that's now 8 weeks ago, I literally had a guy I play basketball with for 11 years. Like on Monday night, I emailed out like I always do, basketball Tuesday night. Every week this guy showed up. Every week he was 61 years old. And every week I said, I want to be like that guy when I'm 61 years old. That guy, like I run my face off when I play basketball. My whole goal is to make the other person tired. And this guy for 11 years has ran with me and has not slowed down. I've seen so many people slow down over the 11 years, including myself. And this guy still would go out there and run his face off. I email out, he says, I'll be there. Tuesday, he's like, I'll be there. Doesn't show up. I'm driving home and I'm like, Tim wasn't there. That's weird. Tim never doesn't show up. So I emailed out. His wife responds back, yeah, Tim was planning on coming, had some issues, had to go into a surgery. Never woke up from the surgery. Like, he was planning on playing basketball with us. Never woke up. That's how short life is. We don't know. Like, he was planning on being there. We were planning on him being there.
And it sounds so cliche to say it, but when you live that experience, it's not that cliche of like, well, we don't know how much time we have. Never, no days ever promised. You hear that all the time. It makes it cliche, but you've experienced that. I see it all the time. I mean, I do life insurance for a business. Like it's awful.
Yeah.
It's really awful when people go. So especially now with, going back to having Natalie too, like every day needs to be impactful. And it's so easy to, because we get in this, life seems so long sometimes when you're going through something, but
yeah.
What people would have, they have some of those days back, so there's no reason to go out and not live with so much enjoyment and purpose. And it's something even the strongest minds and something that I'm saying not the strongest mind, but I have to constantly remind myself of that. And unfortunately and luckily, I see these events happen a lot where people are gone too soon and they didn't get to where they wanted to be. And they were always going to do this later and do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to take the family on vacation.
Yeah.
Going back to Warren Buffett, he says it's kind of like saving sex for old age. It's kind of a bad idea. it's not. So live your life today. Live your life today, because we should all plan to live a long time, and we should do the things, from nutrition and health that we know are effective in doing so. But also know that,
we're not guaranteed.
Plan accordingly for, taking care of your family, and plan accordingly for how you treat your family and friends today, and live your life just in case.
Man, I could say we could sit in here and talk about this, talk all day. I feel like now I feel like the Kelseys. Have you watched the Kelseys?
No.
Jason and what's the other brother's name? They're the Travis.
Oh, yeah. The famous one, Travis.
Yeah. The famous one. Yeah. I probably remember Jason because any of the older brother, but no, they have a killer podcast that they go back
awesome.
and forth, and in some of the stuff I felt like we were jamming like that. So
yeah, I'll check it out now. I love Travis Kelce.
Oh man, well, so check out the episode right after the Super Bowl when they're talking about the Super Bowl and like their mom getting to have the celebrity treatment, and Travis talked about why he even played football was because of Jason, and like his number is inverted for his number, and like Jason didn't even know that, and it was a cool episode.
Oh, definitely check it out.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So promoting somebody else's podcast. Good business. Jordan, thank you so much for coming down and being my 100th episode. This was just even better than I could plan.
I can't even articulate to tell you what an honor it's been, and most of all, how proud I am of you. I'll never forget the day when you called me and told me that you're gonna go off on your own and do this, and I was so happy for you. Had all the confidence in you. You're going to keep building this up, and I'm just so damn proud of who you are and who you become and who you're continuing to be and grow to be. So thank you for having me. It's really an honor.
I wouldn't have you anyway. Thanks a lot.